Om Shri Chinmaya Sadgurave Namaha. Implementation tips in Samahriti Chinmaya Vision Program CVP all in one. CVP by theme. Schools can have an overall theme for the whole year, example patriotism or Ramayana, wherein all curricular and co-curricular activities such as projects and culturals will be designed, choreographed or planned, revolving around various aspects of the main theme. This will help students focus on the theme in depth as well as enjoy the various aspects and shades of the theme. This is very effective in raising the overall awareness in the school. Rende's voice. Interaction can be encouraged on a formal or informal basis with great men and women who reside in or visit your area to show students that greatness is not afar. Students could have discussions, interviews for the school, college magazine, and the like. Chick as a school or college activity. The Chinmay Mission grassroots activity catering to the youth is called Chinmay Yuva Kendra CHIK. CHYK. Its aim is to harness youth potential through dynamic spirituality. For students from standard 9th to 12th, the school can start junior CHIK class on an extracurricular activity. College as an extracurricular activity. Colleges could conduct a senior CHIK class that is also called CHIK chapter in the context of the college. This will foster the Chinmay family feeling besides providing a scope for inner development. Parents CVP committee. The school college may institute a parents CVP committee to elicit close cooperation from the parents in the institution's CVP efforts. This may even be a subcommittee of the Parents Teachers Association PTA. This serves a twofold benefit. It helps the institution as well as inspires parents to carry the spirit of the program to their homes also. Chinmay Vidyalay, Annanagar, Chennai has effectively started this. Parents Talent Database. A form could be designed and sent to parents requesting them to inform the school whether they would be available for guest lectures, sessions in their area of specialization, field of work, and in what manner they could share their knowledge or experience with the students. The database thus built up would in itself become a rich source of knowledge, ideas, support from parents onwards towards the school's CVP efforts. This database could be managed by the parents' CVP committee. Subjects through projects. Along with the regular methods of teaching, all subjects could be taught through activities and projects. These projects can be displayed in the classes and an annual subject exhibition. It is common to see such exhibitions connected to science, but this should be attempted for all subjects, even music and value education, because what a student absorbs from doing is always deeper and more lasting than what he or she learns from memorizing or even other regular ways of learning. This is being done by Chinmay Vidyalaya, Annanagar, Chennai and CIRS Coimbatore. Join the school. A compulsory new parents orientation session can be conducted at the beginning of every academic year when the school reopens to explain the founder of the school, the vision of the school, the Chinmay Vision program, the activities and projects of the Chinmay mission, the rules of the school, an introduction of the teaching and non teaching staff of the school, the role of the parents in the school with regard to not only the children but also other aspects of the school. The other important information like programs planned in the school for students, parents, and teachers. This idea is to make parents an integral part of the schooling system by which the school benefits from the parents' suggestions and participation. And the parents also benefit by becoming a part of the school and mission family. This orientation session should be conducted with sessions for ice breaking and mutually beneficial and friendly interaction among all present. This is highly successful in CIRS Coimbatore and has benefited parents, children, teacher and the school as a whole. Quiz the parents. A quiz can be conducted for parents on the SWAD, School with a Difference book, a CCMT publication given to every Chinmay Vidyalaya child. It contains all the educational and general aspects of the Chinmay mission and vision, particularly its education movement. This will enable them to know more about the Chinmay movement, of which they and their children are an intrinsic part in a fun filled and light hearted manner. This was done by Chinmay Vidyalaya Tarapur to overwhelming response. Assembly of beautiful moments. The school assembly, rather than being a time of speeches and commendations, could be a platform for students for things like success stories or to just enrich the lives of others by sharing, demonstrating an antique art piece or a beautiful potted plant from home. This will help students to know each other better and it becomes an enriching forum to gather lovely memories. Safety Sena. The Road Safety Patrol RSP, Road Safety Patrol cadets can be encouraged to take up traffic control duties at the school gates at the start and end of the school hours. It would be a good opportunity for the cadets to practice and training can also be provided to other senior students to volunteer for the task. This would facilitate smooth movement of the school buses and other vehicles, thereby reducing noise pollution. Chinmay Vidyalaya Hyderabad has trained 30 students for this duty. Keep the vision glowing. Chinmay Vibhuti, a mega project of the Chinmay mission near Pune, which is meant to re-inspire and keep Pujya Gurudev's vision alive in the hearts of all, is a must visit for students, staff and management of our Vidyalayas. Chinmay Vidyalaya Kannur took 50 students accompanied by their principal and secretary for the grand inauguration of Phase 1 of Chinmay Vibhuti in December 2006. It can be a part of the study tour for that the school conducts. Say it with a song. A song is remembered more easily and touches our heart more than any prose or poetry. Children more easily remember movie songs than even the best of literary pieces. For every regular event that the school celebrates, such as sports day or annual day, the school can compose a song that captures the spirit of the event. This leaves a long lasting impact of both the event and the spirit behind it. CIRS has composed such songs that are sung every year. The Shubha Sahas song for that was composed for the annual adventure camps is a hit with all children. Vidyalaya history. A short and interesting PowerPoint presentation or movie can be made on the history of the institution, highlighting its major achievements. This could be shown to all the students, teachers, management, and parents. This will instill in them a sense of pride and an inspiration to excel and make the institution proud of them. Tour time. The annual or biannual educational tours for the students could be planned so that each class gets different types of exposure, science and technology, heritage, culture, adventure, wildlife, pilgrimages, etc. till they graduate out of school. They could also be taken to Chinmaya Tirtha Sthanas like Gurudev Samadhi, Siddhavadi, Adishankar Nilayam, Velianad Kerala, and Tapovan Kutir Uttarkashi as part of their tour. This ensures a holistic and enjoyable exposure suitable to their age and understanding. CIRS conducts such different tours each year for different standards. Parents with a difference. A responsible, enthusiastic, supportive, and proactive parent body is a boon to any school. The bond of goodwill and friendship created between the school and parents results in mutual benefit. In Chinmay Vidyalaya, Hyderabad, parents came forward happily to teach the nursery and primary classes so that the teachers could attend the Hanuman Mastakabhishek at Siddhavadi. They also contribute in many other ways, like providing educational material and taking the role of invigilators. Super Kids. Children who have achieved success in any field are the biggest source of motivation for their students. In a Chinmay Mission Children's Camp at Ahmedabad titled Man to Superman, three such super achievers aged 13, 17, and 21 were invited to share their experiences. This became the highlight for many kids who quizzed their little ideals on how they achieved their success. Everything with a difference. CVP makes Chinmay Vidyalayas schools with a difference. They are part of the global Chinmay mission to bring out the uniqueness of the Chinmay mission and gain more knowledge about the founder and present head. Chinmay Vidyalaya Tripunitura presented an informative skit. It made a big difference to all those who had gathered to celebrate Puja Guruji's birthday. Writing as a means of integrated development. Di- Diary writing is known to train children in collating their thoughts writing crisply, giving release to their emotions on paper, and effective introspection. Students can be encouraged to write official letters to local municipal bodies and newspapers about social and civic problems in their areas. This inculcates social awareness and participation in neighborhood issues, thereby fostering civic consciousness and responsibility as citizens. They can also be encouraged to practice the dying art of personal letter writing as a means to improving their language and style as well as bringing happiness to the families and friends. Students can be asked to write short essays on the good qualities of fellow students. This practice induces them to dwell upon the good points of others and also serves as a self esteem booster when they read the good that others have written about them. Chinmay Uvacha. Casting and the mold. The present convulsions of behavior that are observed at all levels of our society can be directly attributed to the unsteady growth of the real personality in children. To mold the behavior of an individual is to mold the character of the community. This is what education strives to achieve. I believe we can give a purposeful direction to a personality even in the days of its almost unconscious early childhood. Later on, no doubt, we must hammer out of the child new extensions and open up new dimensions for its play through literary, scientific, and social studies. Whatever the child is to be later on a political leader, an economist, a philosopher, scientific scholar, or a glorious artist. His contribution to the society will directly depend upon his character and personality. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Benjamin Franklin. Tip of the issue. Chinmay Pratibha is a unique and creative project introduced by Chinmay Yuva Kendra, Calicut. We have heard of beauty and fashion shows where men and women are given titles like Miss, Mr. Universe and Miss World. The predominant factor in judging these contests is beauty, along with a few questions, the answers of which decide the entire brain power of the individual. Here is a contest with a huge difference, a Mr. Miss Total Personality contest. Over 1,000 students in the age group of 16 to 30 participated in tests held in four stages that covered all aspects of one's personality, such as general personality, educational performance, positive habits, special achievements, communication skills, service mindedness, religious and spiritual attitude, aptitude, understanding of religion and culture, leadership qualities, IQ, and GK. Such contests go a long way in raising the awareness of today's youth on total and balanced development. Fusion for the soul. This unique concept developed by Miss Vandana Khaitan of Delhi is a show with a difference. It is at once trendy and elevating. It appeals greatly to young minds. It includes Passion for the Soul, a fashion show based on our culture and spirituality. Music for the Soul, Naad Empowerment. Food for the Soul, sattvic cooking and health food, art for the soul, sacred and symbolic paintings, sculptures, collages, etc. Environment for the soul, environmental awareness, the Indian way, and such other themes. This concept can be interpreted in various creative ways in your institution, like a school or college day function, cultural fete, cultural fete. It will increase awareness and pride in being Indian. Notice board with a difference. Let us take notice of our school or college notice boards and make them interesting and creative learning experiences. Each class can have a notice board, blackboard in the class with information about class related matters, academics, friends, family, or just jokes or poems, photographs or sketches. This will create closer ties between students. Each class can have a notice board or blackboard outside the classroom where news, information, and creative ideas are shared with the rest of the school. Each subject could have a notice board managed by the subject teacher or students where subject related information and news is given. Thematic notice boards featuring best presentations of currently relevant themes like population can be displayed. A mission notice board could be maintained by the school where local, national, and international mission news is displayed in an interesting manner, thereby fostering the Chinmaya family feeling. We must become the change we want to see in the world. Mahatma Gandhi. Dates with days. Different types of calendars. Class wise birthday calendar. Every class could have a calendar where children's birthdays are marked. Name wise, this fosters bonding between students of a class wherein they know in advance about birthdays. This matters a great deal to children. For example, if a child's birthday comes over a weekend or holiday, he or she gets to be wished beforehand and the birthday song could be sung in advance. Staff calendar. In the administrative office or in the teacher's room, a calendar marking the birthdays and wedding anniversaries of the staff can be put up. It adds much to the camaraderie and bonding between them. Subject calendar. A calendar showing birthdays of great people and events of a particular subject can be indicated on a subject calendar. For example, the language calendar can have birthdays of great poets, authors, and saints of that language and days like that particular language day as well as events like world conferences in that language. All these would create greater awareness, give more information, and foster interest in the subject. This could be applied to all other subjects too, like science, maths, and computer science. School calendar. In a prominent place, school major events, admissions, exams, and holidays of the school can be displayed on the calendar. Even though each child does have his own calendar that is printed a few months before the academic year or term starts, this school calendar could have even the smaller events that were planned later. For instance, inter-school, inter-class, inter-house competitions could be indicated. This helps children, parents, and teachers to keep regular track of what is going on at school and not forget or miss even the smaller events. Home calendar. The children can make this calendar at home for marking the birthdays of their family members and special events like wedding anniversaries of family occasions. This will train young people to plan ahead and look forward to events in a larger sense. It hones their organizing and planning abilities. The Indian calendar, Panchanga. The children's birthday based on the star for those children who know under which star they were born. According to the Panchanga can be marked so that they also become aware of the Indian calendar system. General news calendar, a weekly or monthly calendar of the events to come to those that have passed with local, national, or international news. This can be creatively presented by the children themselves in groups in turns. World Days Calendar. This calendar will highlight days of special significance celebrated universally like Earth Day, Environment Day, and Women's Day. Apart from their general purpose of increasing awareness about the issues concerned, they create powerful mass vibrations when globally celebrated. Creativity. The departments of art, language, and computers can take up the making of some of these calendars according to the subject and nature of the calendars. For example, the Panchanga can be written on the bark of a tree or a material with that background in traditional fonts. The calendars are not just ways of keeping track of events, but if they are creatively and sensitively designed and presented, they are capable of creating the right ambience to make those important events more meaningful. Public speaking. Communication is an important skill and public speaking is an art. Chinmaya Vidyalaya Koramangala took up public speaking as its theme for a term, and students of classes 1 to 10 were given activities like interviewing people, taping them, sharing their experiences, speaking politely, developing courteous attitude, becoming cool listeners, debating, talking, etc. This has so inspired students that they now come up on their own to speak in the assembly, to beat stage fear and inhibition in such a creative manner will help students go a long way even later in their college life, interviews, and in their careers too. Some are gifted speakers, others can be trained. Fear of speaking in public is universal. To overcome it is an important achievement for many. Faith can move mountains and little children. A good teacher places confidence in the children and constantly reminds them that they are special. A sensitive teacher goes further and places more trust in the troublesome children, despite many reports about their conduct. In Chinmaya Vidyalaya Koramangal, Bangalore, the children of Standard 4th could not understand it. The class teacher gave a chance to the troublemakers by electing them as leaders and project leaders and motivated them to express their hitherto hidden talents. They never found the allotted duties cumbersome. The teacher also set apart the last period to listen to their small voiced confessions. And the children, in their innocence, said, "Ma'am, I wasn't the last. I wasn't closing my eyes in the assembly. I did not cut my nails. I did not dash and dash." Eventually, the did nots reduced and a dramatic change was tangible. The troublesome reflected their innate qualities of goodness, obedience, and trustworthiness. All the teachers needed was patience. Children understood that being truthful is simple, and a sea change was observed even by their parents. Water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. President Abdul Kalam's PowerPoint presentation on Vision 2070, which talks on the terrible water situation that the world will face, sends a powerful message on the importance of water preservation. When the students of CV Koramangala Bangalore were exposed to the presentation, there was a visible change in the attitude of the children. Chinmaya Vidyalaya Tripunitura took up the issue of problems due to water scarcity and worked with a missionary Jeel through their project Aqua. The spiritual aspect was brought out through the story of the descent of the Mother Ganga. The chemical, physical, biological, and mathematical aspects were explained. The distribution of water on earth and its various uses, and the percentage of water content in the human body were depicted through experiments, PowerPoint presentations, and talks. A Malayalam poem and a skit added literary beauty to the project. The ways and means for conservation of water were emphatically brought out in the form of three rules: reduce, repair, retrofit. The interdisciplinary approach to learning and teaching that was used to develop and present the project made it commendable. In line with the above thoughts, the information on eco facts can be put up in the bathroom, toilet, or above the wash basin in every Vidyalaya or college. A copy can also be given to the students to put up in their home, any public places, in their residential complex to spread awareness. This has been put up in every room of the Telco guest house in Jamshedpur. If we always do what we always done, we will always get what we have always got. And if nothing changes, nothing changes. And on. Eco facts: less than 20% of the world water is fresh water. Acute water shortage has become a recurring problem in many parts of India and the rest of the world. Conservation is the greatest resource when it comes to water supply. You can also help us conserve water in the following way. Water saved. Brushing teeth. Turn the tap off while brushing 5 to 10 liters. Shaving. Fill mug and turn off tap 10 to 15 liters. Shower. Rinse, turn off tap. Soap, rinse again 50 to 70 liters. Leak, please report immediately 400 to 3000 liters per day. What is in a name? Generally, every Indian name has one or more of the following characteristics. It is given in a special ceremony, Namakaran Sanskar, and chosen by an aunt, priest, saint, or parents. It is according to the alphabets from the birth sign Rashi of a child. In some places, two names are given, one used as a traditional name and the other for regular use. Some also get a pet name which the family and friends use with love. The name has a special meaning or meanings. Most Indian names are rich in meaning. It may be a meaning arising from the etymology of the word itself. Example, ruminate or example, Ramante Sarveshu Hrudaye Sho Iti Rama. One who reveals in the hearts of all is Ram. Named after, say, be named after someone great, saint, god, goddess, ancestor, heroic figure. Example, Meera, Shankar, Lakshmi, Kashyap, Shabri. And see, a story associated with the name given to the great person. Example, Shiva was called Nilakantha when he did the heroic act of drinking the poison and his neck turned blue. It is realized that many students do not know the meaning, significance of their own name. The Sanskrit or language department of the Vidyalaya could take up a project to make a name card of each student with the above mentioned data. Every year, such a card can be made for a new students. The students thereby understand the beauty of having a meaningful name and become proud of a culture which gives them such in depth, meaningful names. They also become aware of the stories associated with their names and would then try to live up to their names. Also, everything in the school can have a well thought of culture and value based name. This is seen in CIRS and many of our Vidyalayas. Special events, Sports Day, Khel Mela, Chinmay Sfurti, Annual Day, Ananda Utsav, Chinmay Sankranti, Sanskriti, House Satya, Dharma, Shanti, Prem, Building Chinmayam Tapovanam Shankaram, Classrooms Matsya Kurma Varaha, or hobbies, clubs, Kala Kendra, Sahitya Parishad, etc. Vision expanded. Culture talks by Samahriti Chaitanya now Swami Advayananda, spiritual guide CIRS, or presently Swami Advayananda CIF. A unique concept introduced in CVP is the 3 to 5 minute culture talk, where interesting little capsules of information on our culture are offered to children every day in the assembly. These talks are one of the effective means by which we communicate to the children and the staff alike about the various aspects and glories of Indian culture. It is a regular feature in the school assembly and hence has the possibility of becoming stale or mundane, like a sense of, oh, now it is the culture talks and afterwards will be the news, the same routine. This attitude on the part of the listeners will defeat the very purpose of the culture talks. Hence, it is imperative on the part of the speaker to make such talks very interesting, else he or she risks people switching off. Now, what could be done about this? Here are a few simple and yet effective suggestions. Every talk should necessarily be interspersed with a joke or a story related to the topic. The ideal way would be to start with a joke or a story and not always introduce it in the middle of the talk. For a captivating beginning ensures that the audience would be with the speaker right from the beginning. Also, starting the talk with phrases like once I was or do you know is effective in capturing the attention of the audience. For a change, instead of one person speaking, a sort of dialogue between two people, as you occasionally see on the TV, is also effective. Occasionally, you may introduce experiments to demonstrate a point in which children themselves come forth to participate. Children can absorb a concept or point through activities wherein asking them what they understood makes them more inclined to be consistently attentive. A team of people can share the job of giving culture talks whereby a variety of approaches and styles fight monotony. Occasionally, children themselves can be given opportunities to deliver such talks, guided by the teacher, of course. This makes a different impact on the audience, wants to know what he is going to speak, wants to know what he is going to speak. Sometimes simple and direct discussions with the audience during the talk help to make the speech effective. The students should be inspired to keep a culture notebook where they keep track of whatever is spoken. Marks may be awarded to this notebook in the same manner as books, which will be added to the internal assessment of the child. They can be asked to preserve these books for future reference for projects. Children could be encouraged to summarize each topic, and later meritorious one can go into the school magazine. Such summaries could be examined as in other subjects and marks awarded marks awarded by making it a part of the value education question paper. Attitudes that help in delivering talks in general are attitude of sharing, not teaching, and more of exploring rather than knowing. There is nothing equal to an inspired teacher, and our own inspiration is the sure cause for a good talk. These and many more shall evolve by itself with experience. Further, nothing goes waste. Somewhere in the subconscious of children, if the idea has gone deep that Indian culture is great and marvelous, and if it creates an eagerness and love to know more, the purpose of culture talks is served. Louis Pasteur says, when I approach a child, he inspires in me two sentiments tenderness for what he is and respect for what he may become. Value education. What is the difference between value education and value based education? Value education is the starting point in the introduction of values in an educational system. In value education, a period or class is selected once or twice a week and more if practically possible, where the teacher, preferably with the help of a value education textbook, manual teaches the various aspects of values to students. The aspects usually covered are various values relevant to the particular age group addressed, the moral and ethical logic behind the value in question, discussions related to it, stories to demonstrate it, value games to experience it, and projects to dwell upon it for a while. Thus, the value education class enables students to define, understand, and attempt to apply values in their lives. Having gained a basic grounding in the various aspects of values, one can attempt to widen the learning and application of values through value based education. Here, attempt is made to impart, and absorb values through all aspects of the school or college life of students, such as through the various academic subjects, the playgrounds, the science labs, the extracurricular activities, and even the non teaching dimensions of the school, such as administration or interaction with parents. It has proved to be a fulfilling challenge to many a teacher to attempt to impart values through the lessons taught in his or her subject. But it is possible to do so if the teacher is sufficiently inspired and creative. For example, one often wonders whether one can convey values through a subject like mathematics, which largely involves numbers and figures. But it is possible to do so. For instance, students could be made aware of the fact that mathematics is predominantly a search for truth. If the truth is written, it fetches marks and not otherwise. Also, in the same context, students could be made aware of the social implications of questions like a milkman adds 2 liters of water to a liter of milk. How much profit does he make? Such questions subtly convey to children wrong messages, like in this case, the message mixing water in milk, adulteration gives profit. Such questions can be reworded as follows: if a milkman adds 2 liters of water to a liter of milk, for how many rupees will he be cheating the public? When sensitivity and creativity is combined in one's approach to the portions to be taught under any subject, techniques and methods of conveying values through the various subjects naturally unfold. It is possible to convey values through almost all academic subjects, even highly number based subjects like maths, as we saw above. The unique and significant aspect of value based education is that it extends beyond the academics to touch all areas of a school or college. It even extends to aspects like the way the teachers handle the parents, the way the clerks in the administration blocks of the institutions deal with the public and even seemingly simple but important aspects like how the watchman, security guard at the entrance of the school greets people. Thus, while value education establishes a basic foundation for an education in values, value based education involves imparting and absorbing values through all areas of the educational life of a teacher, a student, and all involved in the educational process. Under the overall umbrella of value based education, value education features as a specific platform for the teaching and learning of values. It is a combination of the two that is most effective. But if an institution finds the simultaneous introduction of both a rather very big step, value education can be introduced first and over time it can be extended to the application of value based education. Needless to say, the combination of both has had a dramatic impact in many a school or college across the world in transforming the value education, in transforming the culture of these institutions and the lives of all connected to them. Value education and value based education together will form the unique and inspired culture of the institution. James Baldwin said, children have never been very good at listening to their elders, but they never failed to imitate them. We all know that value education, its teaching and implementation, is different from other academic subjects like science or mathematics. When values are taught by force, they have a negative impact on the one taught. But when they come naturally to us, they truly come to stay. Hence, the value education teacher should take tremendous care while teaching. His or her teaching should be conducted in an atmosphere of freedom, which enables the student to penetrate his or her own heart and soul for the right values. The style should not be one of teaching, but rather it should enable students to inquire and ponder rather than to merely theoretically learn and understand. The teacher should help students to imbibe rather than impose values. Values, if discovered for oneself, become values for one's life. But if they are thrust upon us by someone else, then they lose their value. If the teacher guides non intrusively rather than vehemently, then he or she is accepted and cherished by the students. No one likes to be tested or examined. If students surmise that they would be tested, then their answers would be presented in such a way that we, the teachers, would like it. In other words, they would try to mold their answers to suit what they think would be our expectation. Thus, their answers would be hypocritical, tasteless, and pithless, and the very purpose of the value education examination would then be defeated. Also, a test by its very nature creates fear. In fear, one loses one creativity, and then the answers given by the students lack spontaneity and beauty. Hence, no one should be led to feel that he or she is being evaluated or tested. This is the heart and soul of the evaluation of value education. Let the students be aware that there is no one right answer to any question in value education. Once they see the truth of this, their answers will not be molded, hypocritical, or nice. But this can only happen if the teacher genuinely and intrinsically feels so. This cannot happen as an outside polish. When the teacher thus sincerely communicates this attitude, the students will be true to their hearts and will express their real feelings. In this way, the teacher can help a student by being non judgmental, but at the same time being aware of the inherent tendencies, strengths, and weaknesses is beautiful, even the heart of the so called terrible person. This trust in the inherent goodness of every being is the pillar of value education. To openly and fearlessly say and write what one feels is the right way to answer questions in a value education paper. For the students to do so, the teacher is largely responsible. It is not the fault of the student if he or she does not do so. If the child feels that the teacher will appreciate him or her for writing from my heart, then that teacher has broken all barriers between him or her and the student and provided the required atmosphere of freedom for true learning to happen. The student would then be transparent and provide the teacher a possibility to help him or her. It is of prime importance to note that the value education paper is to be set in a general and broad way. Direct questions tend to narrow the scope of the heart. If a straight answer is required, it will endanger free flow of thought. Do not ask a question like, will you help poor people if you had a lot of money? Ask a question like, if you had only one more day to live, how would you spend your day? Now, when a child answers this question, he is bound to think and at the same time feel. There is scope for his heart to talk. When the teacher reads it, he or she would also feel the heart strings of the students. Evaluation then is not only by the head but rather by a unique understanding and communion with the student. There will, of course, be a system of making marking, but this need not follow a traditional pattern. There would not be any hard and fast rule that if the child has written this or that point, he or she would be awarded 2 marks. If the other point is there, the child gets an additional 4 marks, and so on. The marks the teacher gives would be the result of evaluation by the heart, and that evaluation is certainly and distinctly different and superior to that of only the head. Indirect questions call forth a rarely used capacity. They call for the application of information by routing it through the heart, and it is then that transformation happens. And value education is not to do with mere information, rather, it is to do with the very transformation of the individual. Take the example, take for example this question. Man conquered Mount Everest on May 28, 1953. Do you agree with this statement? Give reasons. Now, how will a student answer this question? Unless he feels the question and unless he finds the word conquered jarring and creating a loud disturbance in his heart, he will never be able to answer this question. As he toys with this question, first he tries to check up from his memory bank whether the date and year is right. But after some time, he feels that that may not be the point at all. Probably after a few minutes, he gets a feel of the question, and then you find him going on on an emotional upsurge in answering. He starts off with no introduction at all to the answer. How can man conquer Mount Everest? It is impossible. Why? If a stone was to fall on him from its height, his head would be broken. Now, the teacher has touched his heart and seen how certain topics act, values, react, and work on the student's mind. When you see that your heartstrings vibrate in resonance, a natural evaluation happens, unhindered by the judgments of the head. Also, it is to be noted that these questions require an application skill. In the class, the teacher would have taught about loving nature or caring for nature. But one's subtle thoughts and tendencies are tested and evaluated only when one ponders over questions like this. They call forth for the skill of applying one's understanding and knowledge in day to day matters. Of what use is mere information without transformation? Establishing a personal rapport with the Lord is of great importance in life of anyone. Talking to God, feeling His presence, establishing personal communion with Him by considering Him as your friend, etc., are indispensable tools for the same. They help us in dire situations, and their value cannot be underestimated. Not only do value education classes help in nurturing the same, but even exams could do so. Take, for example, this question. Write a letter to God or Pujo Gurudev on how you plan to eradicate one vice which is troubling you a lot, or share with Sri Krishna, that is your Ishtadevata, and for that matter, it could be Christ or Allah, your greatest sorrow, personal or national. Another way of setting question setting is giving a quotation and asking students to elaborate upon it. To give an example, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, or nothing is going to happen today that you and the Lord together cannot handle. In answering such questions, students fully, exercise themselves fully. They cannot answer on a superficial note. They have to comprehend these quotations, which is an intellectual exercise by itself, and then elaborate the significance of the same. They discover new insights, and the process of answering becomes a sheer joy. Thus, the answering of the value education examination paper will be stimulating, interesting, and purposeful. The teacher enjoys reading the answer sheets, with each of the student writing in a distinctly original way. For a change, there is interest in correction too. Cartoon strips can also be a part of the question paper. Invite students to write on the message of the cartoons. It is a highly interesting and creative task. Cartoons from Tin Tin, Asterix, Dennis and Minas of Calvin and Hobbes provide good material for the same. All this does not mean that the students do not have to prepare for the value education examination. Though they would know after a few examinations that much of the questions would be general, they should also be made aware that these general questions are not randomly set but would be based on what was done in the class. Thus, they know that properly revising their lessons, classwork, and homework is the only way to enhance their ability to answer the paper. But at the same time, they know that there is no point in getting tense about the question paper as it demands creativity, innovation, and the things of the heart that they somehow all know they have in plenty. So there is nothing to worry about. Thus, the value education test or exam will not involve a typical question paper that fills students with fear and anxiety, but something which they eagerly wait to write. It is enthusing to the student and the teacher alike. To summarize, the student writes from his or her heart with feeling, joy, and creativity, and the evaluation too is from the heart, empathetic, generous, and fulfilling. ज्ञानदा नहीं, झंडा ऊंचा रहे हमारा. The national flag is the most sacred symbol of the sovereignty of any nation. Yet many of us are woefully unaware of how a flag should be maintained or looked upon. Here are related rules, some of which may be eye openers. Please make your children aware of these rules and inspire them to feel for the glory of our flag. Certain don'ts regarding the flag: a damaged or disheveled flag must be displays, must not be displayed. The flag must not be dipped in salute to any person or thing. No other flag or bunting should be placed higher than or above or side by side with the national flag, except as permissible by the flag code. Nor shall any object, including flowers or garlands or emblems, be placed on or above the flag mast from which the national flag is flown. The flag must not be used as a festoon, rosette, or bunting, or in any other manner for decoration. Nor should other colored pieces of cloth be so arranged as to give the appearance of the national flag. The flag must not be used to cover a speaker's desk nor draped over the speaker's platform. The flag must not be displayed with the saffron down. The flag must not be allowed to touch the ground or the floor or trail in water. The flag should not be displayed, used, stored, or fastened in any manner that may damage it or soil it. The flag is not to be used as a drapery in any form whatsoever, except in state or military funerals. The flag is not to be draped over the hood, top, or sides or back of vehicles, train, or boat. When the flag is in a damaged or soiled condition, it may not be cast aside or disrespectfully disposed of. It should, in such cases, be destroyed as a whole in private, preferably by burning or by any other method consistent with the dignity of the flag. The flag should not be used as a covering for a building. The flag should not be used as a costume or uniform of any description. It should not be embroidered upon cushions, handkerchiefs, or printed on napkins, boxes. Lettering of any kind should not be put upon the flag. The flag is not to be used in any form of advertisement, nor shall an advertising sign be fastened to the pole from which the flag is flown. The flag is not to be used as a receptacle for receiving, delivering, holding, or carrying anything. There are hoarding Carter says there are only two lasting bequests which can hope to give our children. One is root, the other wings. The display of the national flag or national days on national days or on special occasions. The display of the national flag is unrestricted throughout the country on the following occasions: Republic Day, during the period from the commencement to the close of the celebration, that is from January 23 to 29, the day of beating the retreat at Vijaya Chowk, New Delhi. National Week April 6 to 13 in memory of the martyrs of Jallianwala Bagh. Independence Day 15th August, Mahatma Gandhi's birthday October 2. Any other particular day of national rejoicing as may be specified by the Government of India. The display of the national flag is unrestricted in a state on the anniversary of the information of the state. The Government of India may authorize the unrestricted display of the national flag on any specified day in any local area on account of local celebrations. It should, however, be noted that even on the occasions mentioned above, the provisions of the Flag Code India regarding the display of national flag on motor cars should not be regarded as relaxed. Correct display. Whenever the flag is flown, it should occupy the position of honor and be distinctly placed on or flown. Where the practice is to fly the flag on any public building or government office, it shall be flown on that building on all days, including Sundays and holidays, except as provided in Flag Code. The flag is to be flown from sunrise to sunset, regardless of weather conditions. The flag should always be hoisted briskly and lowered slowly with due ceremonies. Great care should taken to ensure that the flag does not go up with the wrong color on top. When the flag is displayed on a speaker's platform, it shall be flown on a staff on the speaker's right as he faces the audience, or flag flat against the wall above and behind the speaker. When used on occasions like the unveiling of a statue, the flag shall be displayed distinctly and separately. However, the flag must not be used as covering for the state statue or monument. When the flag is displayed alone on a motor car, it shall be flown on a staff which should be firmly affixed on the car in the middle front of the bonnet. When the flag is carried in a procession or a parade, it should be either on the marching right, that is the flag's own right, or if there is a line of other flags in front of the center of the line. Source: Literature of the Defense Services. A telling quote from a teacher in a moment of inspiration that reveals the importance of being committed to an institution for a reasonable period of time. The first year I taught, I knew my subjects better. The second year I taught, I knew my subjects students better. Welfare and Development, based on an article by Dr. Kshama Maitre, who got Padma Shri Award in 2008. We need to inculcate the feeling of sharing and caring in our children and in us. This is achieved through Seva service. Seva bhav and Seva activities enrich our personality. To remove some common misconceptions regarding Seva, the following may be thoroughly understood and imparted to the students. India is considered a developing country. The underlying meaning is that we are currently underdeveloped, and in the process of developing, we all have a sense of what is implied in being developed. Yet, when it comes to implementation, we do not succeed because of failure to make some very important distinctions that between welfare and development. There is an oft repeated saying, if you give a poor and hungry man fish, you have helped him for a day. If you teach him how to fish, you have helped him for a lifetime. This manner of help underlines some of the major differences in approach between welfare and development. Giving a person fish is welfare, while taking the time and trouble to train the person to fish is development. Welfare addresses the immediate apparent problem. Example of being hungry with a direct but short term benefit to the person of, or society. The real issue, example, the incapacity of providing for oneself is not addressed. Hence, the problem remains, needing even more charity by the welfare minded. For development, one would address the root of the problem and seek a long term solution. It involves training and building up the capacity of the people. Hence, involvement of the people becomes an essential part of the solution. As the underlying issues are addressed, the people themselves become capable of handling the problems. In the process, they become self reliant. For those who want to help or do charity, the welfare approach appears to be easy. Set up a free kitchen, the hungry will come and eat. Whereas for the development approach, the beginning is more difficult. One may need to set up appropriate training in consultation with the beneficiaries. Sustained effort is required to build sufficient capacity to make the people or society independent. Let me clarify in case there is a misunderstanding. Development does not mean that when people are hungry, we should give them seed and land and send them for agricultural training. It means we should not stop at just giving them food. The most important aspect for success in the development field is the participation of the people themselves from the very early designing to implementing the solution to evaluating the efficacy and making appropriate changes. Sometimes this participation by the beneficiaries represents a complete reversal of the expert knows best top down approach. One has to overcome the tendency of the modern educated to ignore the people's wisdom. The question may arise as to why one should be concerned about development. The reason is that all of us benefit. When the majority of the people in the country are literate, have opportunity to provide for them or their own basic need of food, clothing, shelter, have access to health care, then they start to contribute to the creation of wealth and knowledge in the country. Strive as we do to gain a place on the Security Council of the United Nations or be recognized for the satellites that we have launched, we are still considered backward. When the majority can live a higher standard, only then will India be considered developed. Most importantly, the reason to participate in development work is the satisfaction of being the catalyst of truly beneficial change in the society. Meditation in classrooms. Stop talking, be quiet. How many times have I to tell you this? Are you children or devils? This is how many classes begin in schools. It is noticed that children become restless at the end of a class and take some time to settle down before the beginning of the next class. This is understandable. They have tried their utmost to concentrate in the earlier session and now to relax. They let themselves loose by moving about or chatting. In a way, this is a healthy sign, but shouting loudly or running about within the classrooms is not to be allowed. Teachers have a tough time trying to settle the children and orient them for their class. Many a times there is a lot of shouting, and the teacher often becomes so irritated that he or she finds taking the class very difficult. Often he or she wishes that if only the children were quiet, how much more efficient he or she could be and how much more they would benefit. There are effective methods by which children could be persuaded to settle down, and in fact, we can enable them to have a greater degree of concentration in class by going through certain exercises in basic meditation. These meditation techniques are simple, and their very simplicity and novelty make them very interesting for children. A few of these, which have been found useful, have been elaborated. Teachers can evolve their own techniques. Watching the breath to be used for class 5 and above. This is an age-old time tested method prescribed in the scriptures for quieting the mind called prana vikshana. This is not the advanced and slightly difficult pranayama. In this, we watch the breath. We neither speed up nor try to quieten the breath. We just observe it. Here is a verbal demonstration of how to go about it. Sit straight, erect, yet relaxed. Interlock your fingers, close your eyes. Start observing your breathing. After a few seconds, find out from which nostril the air goes in, from your right or left or both. This could vary from child to child. After some time, through which nostril do you breathe out? After some time, also find out which is warm, the air you breathe in or the air you breathe out. The children should be told they need not reply while the meditation is in progress. After the meditation should not be conducted for also this meditation should not be conducted for more than 3-4 minutes, else you risk the children falling asleep. Children tend to fall asleep faster than do adults because their minds become quiet soon. Even if a child dozes off in the middle of the session, do not wake him or her up till the session is concluded. The child will be fresh for the class. After the session is over, there can be a general discussion for another 2 minutes in which nostril did you feel the air going in, coming out, etc. Meditation with fingers to be used for classes 3 to 7. Another interesting meditation for the children is asking them to interlock their fingers and telling them to close their eyes. Then they are told to just move one of their fingers, left hand middle finger, left hand thumb, right hand ring finger, left hand small finger, and right hand thumb together, and so on. Various permutations and combinations can be worked out. It is not so easy, but it invokes such concentration and coordination between the mind and the body that the whole class becomes silent and there is a perceptible aura of undivided attention. Discovering your heartbeat to be used for classes 9 and above. This is not so easy, but it can be used for senior classes. Here, ask the students to sit quiet, watch their breath, and after a few minutes, ask them to observe their heartbeat. Ask them to concentrate on the left side of their chest and observe the heartbeat there. One may be able to observe it, but to continue demands greater greater concentration. This greatly improves one's power of concentration. Observing various sounds can be used for all classes. Here we ask the children to first observe the various sounds coming from outside, chirping of the birds or sound of vehicles. We may ask them to observe the sounds in front of them, later behind them, then the sounds in their bodies, like the sounds in the stomach or heartbeat. Meditation on the sound of the rotating fan to be used for classes 3 to 6. This is very effective, especially if the class has 2 or more fans. Here we ask the children to close their eyes, and either the teacher or one of the children is asked to operate the fan with their eyes closed. The children are asked, now which fan is in rotation, the one in the front or back? After some time, that fan is switched off, and then they are asked to find out which fan is in rotation. Then both the fans can be switched off simultaneously. Permutations and combinations can be worked out. Before the session begins, children may be told that they should not answer the questions aloud. At the end of each of the sessions, it is important that the children are slowly and gently brought out of the state of concentration. Each of the sessions can conclude by saying, now become aware of your body, become aware of the sounds around you. Slowly open your eyes and relax. The triple chant of Shanti 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 is a pleasant conclusion to the meditation session. There are many more of these concentration and meditation exercises. Some teachers use the japa technique, chanting Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namo Narayanaya, or any chant that the school may adopt for a few minutes before they start teaching. Visualization of the form of God, any other form, is also a powerful meditation technique. Focusing the mind on divine virtues such as love of God opens the heart of the child to positive emotions. These meditation exercises are much better than the traditional stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down, or raise your hands, or put down your hands, and so on, by which teachers use to settle the children to study. Also, the students develop a good amount of concentration doing these exercises, and it goes a long way to help them in their studies. We introduce them to the real realm of the mind, their inner world, and make them appreciate silence. Vedas open the doors of meditation to them, and even a small peep through it can, in time, transform their lives. Holistic vision, Swami Tejomayananda. One must have a total vision of life. Guruji says, Paramapuja Guruji says, once I understand that my life is a whole which cannot be divided into compartments, I will give equal importance to all aspects. For instance, let us consider the growth of a human being. A child is born and grows physically. We expect the mental growth of the child to be proportionate to his physical growth. However, we find that sometimes he is physically developed but mentally immature, or vice versa. Sometimes physical and intellectual growth is there, but not accompanied by emotional maturity. Our voluntary acts of personal development may be quite lopsided too. We give too much importance to the body, pampering it a lot. We try to develop the intellect by gathering a lot of knowledge. The focus is so much on gathering knowledge that we do not develop analytical or discriminating skills. Children of our generation are intellectually smart but emotionally immature. There is no holistic growth. A child is said to be growing properly when there is physical, mental, intellectual, as well as spiritual growth in him. Such a child has a better chance to succeed in life. A failure in his examinations, profession, or business cannot be called a failure if there is an overall growth in him. Nowadays, we give too much importance to marks and grades in studies. Students are not fully equipped to face life in its totality. Marks and grades may be important in getting employment, but not in facing life as a whole. Our education system is not bringing out a complete man, but only a man with a degree, which may or may not get him a good job. What is the value of such a degree? Modern education is employment oriented. When education lacks application of knowledge or ethics, it is of no value. There are doctors who may be very good at medicine but so grossly lacking in ethics that they refuse to operate on the patient even in an emergency unless they get their fees. What are the values that their education has imparted to them? The total picture of life is missing. Is money alone the goal of life? Can playing cricket alone or any other sport be the sole goal of life? Life is a sport, but sport alone cannot be life. Ideas of success differ. A child who goes to school often cries on the first day. After a few days, the mother finds that the child is going to school happily. She asks him whether he can count his numbers or recite his alphabet. When he replies in the negative, she is immediately disgusted with his school and feels that the teacher has not done the adequate job. Personally, I think the teacher has been very successful because earlier the child was crying to go to school, but now he is happy in school. She has removed the teacher's child's fear of school and has created in him an eagerness to go to school. Strangely, we don't give importance to such aspects. We are only interested in knowing what the child has learned. If the teacher has created in the child a love for the subject, then even though he may not have completed the syllabus, he is successful. Unfortunately, our modern way of thinking does not agree with this. When I appear for an examination, my idea is that if I pass in it, I am successful. But I have been going to school every day and learning something. Why that learning is not called success? One can analyze this in so many ways, but in all, it all boils down to the fact that one must have a total vision of life. Kanchan Jha, a mission at 15. At 15, she is one of the most sought after teachers, and her school is an open air piece of land in a sprawling slum. Yet Kanchanjha is ensuring that kids get the education they deserve. Little wonder that the US government invited this teenager from a Delhi ghetto to speak on the child's right to education. Last year, with support from CASP, Kanchan, along with three of her friends, formed a Bal Manch, or a children's parliament in October 2001 in her slum area. Her mission to impart education to kids living in a sprawling South Delhi slum settlement. Once she has done that, she attends a regular school in the afternoon shift. The kids I teach know as much about the subjects as I do, says Kanchan Jha, who is making a qualitative difference to the lives of kids who have either dropped out or are too poor to attend school, and Kanchan is just 15. Back in 1992, her laborer father faced the dilemma of having to withdraw one of his children from school. Kanchan was the one. Though she was a school topper right through, seeing the condition of this poverty stricken family, an NGO offered to sponsor her education. Today, 10 years down the line, 15-year-old Kanchan Jha is the moving force behind ensuring that all children in her community enroll in and attend school. Bal Manch has undertaken many child related activities such as ensuring readmission of school dropouts who had opted out either due to economic emergencies or exam failure, child marriage, poor hygiene, or other child related problems. The Munch works on very democratic principles. It meets every Sunday and elects a president from amongst the existing 28 members. During the week tenure as president, an elected child has to ensure that all decisions taken on that Sunday are attended to before the next Sunday meeting. In recognition of her efforts, the International Center for Research on Women ICRW, International Center for Research on Women, in the United States and the United Nations General Assembly Special Session UNGASS, United Nations General Assembly Special Session, selected Kanchan to attend the Children's Forum from May 5 to 7th, 2002 and be a child delegate at the UNJSS from May 8 to 10. The Children Forum was attended by 350 child delegates from different parts of the world. Kanchan also met officials of the World Bank and congressmen at Washington, D.C., USA. 55 years after independence and 53 years after articulating the directive for full and complete education of all children in the country, universal education still remains a desire in the minds of many parents and children. It is only rarely that a Kanchan dares to dream and even achieve her aspiration. Education in India. French born Michael Danino, convener of the International Forum for India's Heritage, has been living in India for 27 years. He writes and lectures on Indian civilization. Here are deeply stirring and thought provoking excerpts, excerpts from his articles. Why ails school education in India? What ails school education in India? In a word, it is a relic of a colonial system that never even tried to suit the Indian child or India's cultural context. Machiavellian education made no bones about its real objectives. Incomprehensibly, The system was left unchanged after independence, or rather kept worsening, weighed down with more and more matter to be stuffed into the students' brains, more and more exams, and an uninspiring pedagogy. The relevant and the irrelevant. Last July, under the twin banner of the International Forum for India's Heritage and the AVR Educational Foundation of Ayurveda, we conducted in Coimbatore a workshop on challenges to Indian education, during which over 70 principals and teachers of matriculation schools were asked for their views and suggestions. The result was telling. Everyone agreed that the school system needs an overhaul both in quantity and quality, and that much of the syllabus has little relevance to the child's environment. A few examples. In Tamil Nadu, geography in class 6 starts with Africa, Australia, South America, and Antarctica. It goes on in class 7 with North America, Europe, and erstwhile USSR. Only in class 8 do we get to Asia and India. Teachers suggested the opposite approach. Start with the school's district, its hills and rivers, which the child can relate to, move on to Tamil Nadu, then the rest of India, and later to other parts of the world, and use learning aids based on good maps, even games, rather than dry facts and figures. History is presented as a dead record of the past and suffers from much irrelevant data about kings, wars, dates, and dynasties. Again, it could begin with the local history and include visits to heritage sites and museums, even make use of films and documentaries. A project asking students to research a particular period or to stage a play would automatically raise their level of interest. About world history, brief highlights are sufficient. Little more will remain the day after the exam in any case. Civics goes into needless minutiae of the constitution. Teachers wished to see Indian epics and stories, also real life incidents used to effectively convey values, Indian ethics, and the meaning of social duties. Physics in class 6 provides superficial observation on atoms, measurements, mechanics of mechanics, hydrostatics, heat, light, sound, magnetism, and electricity. All of it in 1 year. Mathematics is spread equally thin. In both disciplines, the stress is on memorizing formulae and figures rather than an understanding the scientific concepts and principles behind them. There is too much theory and too little of practicals. Just think that some schools have the students perform chemistry or physics experiments on paper. Language teaching should be modernized with functional language labs. Little of India's rich regional literatures come the students' way, while English authors are dutifully mugged up. A few such inspiring works must be translated into Indian languages, thus promoting cross regional exchanges. Well equipped Libraries should expose students to material of cultural or educative value. Indian music and dance too deserve a place. One neglected field is sports and physical education. Often there is little of it as facilities and competent teachers are missing. On those few hours get hijacked for academic studies, or those few hours get hijacked for academic studies. As long as there are exams, physical education ought to be given proper credits. Yoga should be included in view of its important physical and psychological benefits. Still, one central problem of Indian education remains to be addressed: integrating Indian culture into the textbook syllabi. Integrating Indian culture in education. Sri Aurobindo wrote in 1909, "We have been cut off by a mercenary and soulless education from all our ancient roots of culture and tradition. Open any textbook at random. All worthwhile knowledge is shown as coming from the West. How do we account for such an aberration, if not through the persistence of Macaulay's statement that there was nothing of value in Indian culture?" In recent years, attempts to introduce Indian culture at schools have been attacked as if they were a crime. Yet we speak of the desirability of national integration, forgiving, forgetting what it is in the first place that has welded together this vast land. So, how do we integrate Indian culture in education? Some schools have introduced courses on Indian culture. Though a great step toward forward, the long term solution must make use of India's heritage in every discipline, not just as a separate topic. In reality, there are simple and rational ways to introduce elements from India's cultural heritage. Here are a few basic examples. In mathematics, every child begins with numbers. The so called Arabic numerals and a place value decimal system of numeral notation originated in India. Why not say so? And why not mention that the so called Pythagorean theorem is found in Bodhayan's Shulba Sutras centuries before it appeared in Greece? Or that Aryabhatta's value for pi and his table of sine values are the best approximation of his time? Or again, at higher levels, the Brahmagupta's work on quadratic equations, computation of square roots or negative numbers, was centuries ahead of European mathematics. In physics, too, it is easy to show how atomism, relativity of time and space, and other modern concepts are anticipated in Indian philosophies. In astronomy, how about Aryabhatta's striking view of the earth as a rotating sphere and his precise value for its diameter? His correct interpretation of eclipses, eclipses eclipses, or his accurate calculations of the sidereal day sidereal day and night, sidereal day and night. Instead, we give students the false notion that all astronomy came from Ptolemy, Copernicus, and Galileo, and India was never in the picture. Chemistry could acknowledge India's great advances in iron technology, extraction of zinc, and so on. Coming to life sciences, many textbooks start by distinguishing living things, plants, and animals from non living things, the sun, water, mountains. There is no need for such antiquated notions. Rather, the Indian view of a universe permeated, permeated with consciousness and life is much closer to current scientific theories or the striking progression of the Dashavatar could be invoked in an intuition of the phenomenal behind evolution. Ayurveda and other Indian systems of medicine have a rightful place too, as late as the 18th century. Bengal at least had a program of inoculation against smallpox. Ecology is now fashionable, good, but do mention India's concept of Mother Earth as a cow to be milked, not destroyed, this being the very basis of modern ecology and sustainable development. Examples from Ashoka's edicts or the Arthashastra will help. Also, advanced water harvesting or agricultural techniques or practical examples of traditional forest conservation. The field of humanities is crying for more Indian inputs. Literature should highlight Indian authors from various regions and epochs. It does not matter if an Indian child is ignorant of Shakespeare, but should he know next to nothing of Kalidas, Valluvar, Bankim, or Tagore? History should show how India's great ideas and advances developed and were reflected in the lives of the people. How many of us know that republicanism was one of the India's experiments with governance a few centuries before classical Greece, or that democratic institutions and standards under the Cholas were more exacting and effective than our own of today. Taking an overall picture, why omit the spread of Indian philosophies, art, science, technologies, and systems of medicine beyond her borders? Civics could include the Indian cultural, spiritual, ethical notion of dharma as the foundation for a well ordered, functional society, while dharmic values are best illustrated through well chosen stories from the epics or collections like the Hitopadesh. Coming to art, it is easy to arouse a sense of wonder in the student when describing how Ellora's Kailash Nath temple was sculpted out of a hill. Multimedia material will convey the greatness of Indian painting, architecture, music, and dance far better than a few dry paragraphs. Even physical education should include Indian games and manual martial arts will benefit. Yoga as a science of inner and outer health is acknowledged the world over. It is heartening that a few state governments have recently introduced it in schools. These are just a few examples of what a creative, motivated teacher can do on his own without even disturbing the syllabus, of course. He will have first to familiarize himself with India's achievements, then to put across some of them to the students in a striking and inspiring way. Unless teachers are properly trained, and unless parents and school management support this line, the old system will persist. Parents must decide whether they are happy with their children being recording machines, successful in today's exams, perhaps, but unable to cope with the challenges of life because they have remained uncultured despite grueling years of schooling. After 56 years of independence, now it is 75, there is no excuse for not decolonizing Indian education. Let it become both Indian and real education. Let the change take place intelligently with the best material and keeping the students' future in mind. Vidya Vikas, compiled from the talks of Param Pujya Guruji Swami Tejomayananda ji. Each of us is gifted with an intellect, the receptacle, the receptacle, the receptacle of our individual reservoir of knowledge. However vast our intellect may be, we still have an infinite scope for expansion in our vision and knowledge. And growth in our maturity and wisdom. This is Vidya Vikas. Lopsided growth benefits none. In describing the intellectual sheath with Jnanamaya Kosha, a metaphor in the Taittiriya Upanishad explains how our knowledge can grow in a balanced way. तस्य श्रद्धैव शिरः घृतं दक्षिणपक्षः सत्यमुत्तरः पक्षः योग आत्मा महः पुच्छं प्रतिष्ठा. Faith is its head. Ritam and Satyam, truth, are its right and left side. Abundance is its trunk, and the total intellect is its support. Faith, Shraddha, is its head. The intellect is the instrument by which we gain knowledge, and it should be headed and guided by faith. Faith is commonly misunderstood to be a blind, unreasonable emotion. It is not so. Faith is belief backed by understanding, and its position in the knowledge process is primary. In the present time, there is an information boom. There are more graduates, specialists, experts, greater scientific and technological advancement, but lesser faith in oneself, the world, and in the Supreme. Knowledge cut off from faith is headless and therefore leads man to grave problems. More highly educated people are committing suicide due to lost faith and consequent meaninglessness in life. The scriptures urge us to have faith, shraddhatsva. Truth is the right rhythm and left satyam side. Superficially, rhythm and satyam both mean the truth. A subtle distinction can be made. To ascertain the truth is rhythm, to respect and live by it is satyam. Knowledge could be false, deceptive, unreliable, or fleeting. We should be able to ascertain its nature, rhythm, and reject or accept it as per our understanding. To manifest it at the level of speech or behavior is Satyam. Modern scientific discoveries have so brainwashed our thinking that we are unable to see the truths discovered by the subtle and noble seers of the past. We seem to have greater faith in half truths or appearances of truth that are presented as scientific truths. Example: medicines which were at one time proclaimed as cure for diseases are now banned for being harmful in the same places where they invented. That knowledge alone will lead to true progress and inner growth, which is protected and based on the truth. Abundance yoga is the trunk. Various theories of fields of knowledge, variety of goals, professions, and pleasures seem to keep the modern man running helter skelter, distracted in mind and effort, confused and agitated. Where is there a scope for growth and maturity for such a person? Deep commitment, regular practice, and abundance in the knowledge alone give it great maturity, strength, and depth. Such dedication and abundance in knowledge alone is the main body in which knowledge expands. The total intellect, Mahaha, are its feet or support. Just as we stand on our feet, our thinking is based on our knowledge. How should this knowledge be? Einstein said, I want to know the mind of God. All else is mere details. When we lose sight of the total, we become narrow minded. We hold on to our prejudices and take pride in our small achievements and knowledge. True knowledge helps us live in harmony with each other and the creation. It helps us integrate within, expand within, and ultimately merge with the total, the supreme. Let us all move from the darkness of ignorance to the brightness of knowledge. Tamaso ma jyotirgamaya. Let us all be guided by faith, keeping truth on our side and supported by the Supreme, gain abundance and thereby expand our vision and knowledge. God does not see if we are able or unable. He only sees if we are available. Let us make ourselves available to a lifelong and fulfilling process of Vidya Vikas. Roger Levin said, too often we give our children answers to remember rather than problems to solve. Gandhiji on education said this: the teachers can discuss the following in their weekly study classes so that the wisdom of the wise gets internalized. The relevant parts can also be shared with the parents. So Gandhiji said on education: education of children mainly depends on mothers. Even when a child goes to a teacher for studying, he takes with him a string attached to his mother's heart. If good children are taught together with bad ones and thrown into their company, they will lose nothing, provided the experiment is conducted under the watchful care of their parents and teachers. The use of threats and punishments and the practice of gorging the children with food are an outrage on the principle of true education. Punishment does not purify; if anything, it hardens children. There is no school equal to a decent home, and no teacher equal to honest, virtuous parents. I would develop in the child his hands, his brain, and his soul. The hands have almost atrophied, the soul has been altogether ignored. Our education has got to be revolutionized. The brain must be educated through the hand. Why should you think that the mind is everything and the hands and feet nothing? Those who do not train their hands, who go through the ordinary rule of education, lack music in their life. All their faculties are not trained. Children are not taught to make the right choices, and so their education often proves their ruin. The whole training should be natural and responsive, and that will prove to be the quickest and the cheapest in the world. Spending more does not necessarily make better education. The eyes, the ears, and the tongue come before the hand. Reading comes before writing, and drawing before tracing the letters of the alphabet. If this natural method is followed, the understanding of the children will have much better opportunity of development than when the education begins with the alphabet. The child should learn to read before he is taught to write. Writing should come last. Before he starts learning the alphabet, he should learn some drawing. All education should be imparted through the mother tongue. Indian parents who train their children to think and talk only in English from their infancy betray their children and their country. They deprive them of the spiritual and social heritage of the nation and render them to that extent unfit for the service of the country. Children inherit the qualities of the parents no less than their physical features. Environments do play an important part, but the original capital on which a child starts in life is inherited from its ancestors. I have also seen children successfully surmounting the effects of an evil inheritance that is due to purity being an inherent attribute of the soul. Children wrapped up in cotton wool are not always proof against all temptation and contamination. Keep a child in cotton wool and you stunt it or kill it. If you wish to make him a robust man, you will need to expose his body to all weathers, teaching him how to defy them. A wise parent allows the children to make mistakes. It is good for them once in a while to burn their fingers. I believe implicitly that the child is not born mischievous in the bad sense of the term. If parents would behave themselves whilst the child is growing, before it is born and after, it is a well known fact that the child would instinctively obey the law of truth and the law of love. From my experience of hundreds of children, I know that they have perhaps a finer sense of honor than you and I have. The greatest lessons of life, if we would but stoop and humble ourselves, we would learn not from grown up learned men, but from the so called ignorant children. A devoted teacher creates dedicated learners, and a class becomes a classic experience of both. Chinmaya Samavartan Graduation Ceremony. Graduation marks a stage of physical, mental, and intellectual growth as well as academic achievement. This important occasion is therefore marked by a ceremony. In ancient India, Samavartan, literally returning back, or graduation ceremony, was one of the 16 important sacraments, Shodasha Sanskar, that each individual went through in his life. The students, having stayed in the Gurukul residential school, dedicated their entire time and efforts in education. After the ceremony, returned home to start their professional and householder's life. The students got spruced up for the occasion are confirmed graduation certificates presently and were given a convocation address by their guru, a chief guest in present days. The convocation address guided the students how to conduct themselves in their professional, personal, social, and spiritual life. The convocation address given in the Taittiriya Upanishad is very famous. It is included in this section. A copy of this entire vision expanded should be given to the final year students of the Chinmaya educational institutions. There is a resurgence of this ceremony as a celebration in India just as it is done in the West, where it is much in vogue. Many Indian universities now call famous people to confer the certificates and address the new graduates who have special dresses made for this occasion. The family and friends celebrate the occasion of congratulating the new graduate and by giving a gift or a treat. Many of our Chinmay education institutions have a graduation ceremony for students graduating from nursery to primary, primary to secondary, secondary to higher secondary. Many of the Chinmay Bal Vihars and Yuva Kendras have a graduation ceremony for children and youth graduating from Junior Bal Vihar to Senior Bal Vihar, Senior Bal Vihar to Junior Yuva Kendra, and Junior Yuva Kendra to Senior Yuva Kendra. The spirit of this occasion have been captured by Guruji, Puja Guruji Swami Tejomayanandaji in a very simple and melodious graduation song in Sanskrit, which is enclosed. Do introduce the graduation ceremony and the song in the colleges, Vidyalayas, Bal Vihars, and Yuva Kendras. Chinmay Uvacha. Training the mind. Communication is between my mind and your mind. If my mind is wandering somewhere due to some worry or anxiety, my talking will not be logical to you. If your mind is wandering, you will hear me but you will not understand what I am saying. In the name of education today, we are neglecting the mind and teaching the hands to do certain things in order to earn a living. That is necessary, but the instrument with which you have to face the challenges is the mind, and training the mind is the essence of education. Swami Chinmayananda. Tejomaya Uvacha. Good enough. People and institutions do not achieve success because even though they are good, they are not good enough. They work hard but not hard enough. Swami Tejomayananda. Hari Om. It will conclude in the next part. Hari Om.